Hey everyone, good morning and welcome back to the English Level Up podcast. My name is James.
And I'm Emily. Smiles. And we're honestly so excited to have you here with us again for another daily dose of English practice.
Exactly. If this is your very first time joining us, welcome to the family. This is the podcast designed to help you improve your English step by step, day by day, in a way that feels natural, friendly, and part of your daily routine.
Before we dive into today's episode, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. We publish every single day, and trust us, you don't want to miss a thing.
And there's something even better. We've prepared a free document for you to download. It's like a little treasure chest of English learning. Inside, you'll find all the basic tools you need to quickly start speaking English, plus a powerful daily planning guide to help you build an unbeatable routine.
Imagine this. If you listen to us every single morning for just 15 to 20 minutes, and you keep doing this consistently for 3 to 6 months, you will start noticing huge improvements in your English. Your vocabulary will expand, your confidence will rise, and your ability to use English in real situations will become so much smoother.
It's true. And what we love here is that we're not only focused on boring grammar drills or memorizing endless lists of verbs. No, we're all about real situations and practical English that you can use in your personal and professional life.
And that's why today's episode is really special. This is officially episode 3 of the English Level Up podcast, and our topic is something extremely useful and often misunderstood: the hidden rules of English at work.
Yeah, because professional English is not the same as school English. Sometimes you think, okay, I know how to write an email. I studied grammar. I've done vocabulary exercises. But then you enter the workplace and suddenly it feels like another world. People speak faster, they use expressions you've never learned, and you feel lost.
Exactly. And on top of that, there are these hidden cultural rules, things nobody really teaches you, like how to make small talk before a meeting, how to politely disagree without sounding rude, how to use the right tone in emails. Those little details make a huge difference.
So today, we're going to reveal those rules. We'll share examples, personal stories, even some embarrassing mistakes we've made.
And trust me, James has a whole collection of embarrassing stories.
Thanks, Emily. But seriously, if you've ever felt nervous in a meeting or confused when writing a professional email, today's episode will help you.
So grab your coffee, maybe a notebook, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's episode.
So, Emily, let's start with what I think is probably the most important hidden rule of all. You know, something people often underestimate when they start working in English is this: tone is everything.
Oh yes, absolutely. And when I say absolutely, I really mean it. Because you can be the most accurate person with grammar, you can choose the right vocabulary, but if the tone is too sharp, too cold, or even too flat, people can totally misinterpret your intention. In a workplace, that can mean the difference between being seen as a polite colleague or being seen as pushy, rude, or even unprofessional.
Exactly. Let me give you an example. Imagine you write an email to a colleague and you just write, "Send me the report." Now the grammar is perfect. It's simple, it's clear, the verb is right, nothing technically wrong. But the way it feels? Honestly, it feels like you're angry. It feels like you're the boss shouting orders.
Yeah, it feels almost military. And the funny part is most learners don't realize that. They think, well, I'm being clear, I'm saving time, so this is efficient. But what happens is the reader doesn't just see the words, they hear the tone behind them. And that tone feels aggressive.
Exactly. Now compare it with this. "Could you please send me the report when you have a chance?" Suddenly, the sentence is a little longer, maybe 6 extra words, but the whole atmosphere changes. Now it sounds polite, considerate, almost respectful of the other person's time.
Right, and this is why I always tell people, hidden rule number 1 in professional English is that politeness opens doors. You don't lose authority by being polite. In fact, you gain respect because people see you as someone easy to collaborate with.
And this doesn't apply only in emails. It applies in meetings, in Slack messages, in quick conversations in the hallway. Adding those little softeners, please, when you have a moment. I'd appreciate it. Makes your English feel warmer and more professional.
And you know what? It's also a cultural difference. In some countries, being short and direct is considered efficient, even a good thing. But in English-speaking workplaces, directness without politeness often sounds like anger. And that's where people get stuck. They wonder why colleagues avoid them, when really it's just tone.
Absolutely. And I want to link this to another hidden rule, which is small talk is professional, not a waste of time. Because many learners don't see the connection. They think small talk is just for friends or family, but actually it's a professional tool.
Oh yes, this is huge. In many cultures, you walk into a meeting and boom, straight to business. Numbers, deadlines, action points. But in the UK, in the US, in Canada, and in many international companies, the first few minutes are almost always small talk. How was your weekend? Did you watch the game? How are your kids?
And if you ignore that part and just go straight into the agenda, you can come across as cold, robotic, or even rude, even though that wasn't your intention.
Let me tell you something funny. I used to be exactly like that. In my first job abroad, when people asked me, "How was your weekend?" I would just answer, "Fine." And then I would try to start the meeting. But then I noticed people looked a bit disappointed.
Yeah, because they weren't looking for information. They were looking for connection.
Exactly. And I realized small talk isn't about wasting time. It's about showing you're human. It's about creating a friendly atmosphere. And once that atmosphere exists, the real work becomes much smoother.
Yes, and I'll admit something here. When I first started in an American company, I hated small talk. I thought, why are we spending 5 minutes talking about the weather? We could have started and finished by now. But then I realized something powerful. When I joined the small talk, even just saying a few sentences, people listened to me more during the actual meeting. They were more open, more cooperative.
So the hidden rule here is small talk is not wasted time. It's an investment in trust. And trust is the foundation of professional relationships in English.
Beautifully said. Now let's talk about another hidden rule that is super important. Interruptions. In some cultures, interrupting is actually seen as a sign of energy, of engagement, of enthusiasm. People cut each other off and it's totally fine. But in English-speaking workplaces, too much interruption can feel extremely rude.
Yes, and the problem is sometimes learners think they're showing enthusiasm by jumping in quickly. But what colleagues hear is, this person doesn't respect me, they don't let me finish my idea.
Exactly. So the trick is to learn polite ways to enter the conversation. You don't have to stay silent forever, but you do need to wait for a pause and use what I call magic phrases. For example, can I just add something here? Or, if I may, or I'd like to build on that idea. These little expressions are like permission slips. They let you enter without pushing others out.
And they really change how you're perceived, because meetings are not just about the content of your words. They're also about the dynamics. If you show that you can be respectful, patient, and then contribute in a polite way, you gain credibility.
Absolutely. And speaking of credibility, another huge hidden rule is about emails. I've noticed many learners think that writing long emails makes them sound more professional. But in reality, in English-speaking workplaces, less is more.
Oh yes, I've seen emails that look like novels. And the truth is, people don't read them. They skim, they miss half the details, and sometimes they even ignore the email completely because it feels too heavy.
Exactly. A good professional email usually has 3 parts. A greeting, a short body with 1 or 2 paragraphs maximum, and then a clear action point. That's it. Concise, clear, professional.
And greetings matter too. A lot of learners still write "Dear Sir" or "Dear Madam," but honestly that feels like something from the 1800s.
Yes, unless you're writing to the Queen, it's way too formal. Modern business English is friendly but respectful. Like, "Hi Emily," "Hello James," and then straight into your point.
And that friendliness actually makes you sound more professional, not less, because it shows you understand the modern culture of business English.
Now, let's not forget about our reality today, Zoom meetings and video calls. One of the hidden rules there is always test your microphone and camera before joining.
Yes, because nothing kills your credibility faster than, hello, can you hear me? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, and I've seen it so many times. And another detail is when you speak, try to look at the camera, not just at your screen. It feels weird at first, but it creates the illusion of eye contact, which makes your communication much stronger.
That's true. And let's mention another hidden rule, which I think is one of the hardest to learn, is giving and receiving feedback.
Oh, yes. In English-speaking workplaces, people rarely give feedback directly in a harsh way. Instead, they use very soft and indirect language.
For example, instead of saying, this report is bad, they might say, this report could be improved, or even softer. Maybe we could make a few small changes here.
Exactly. It's almost like they wrap criticism in a polite package. And if you don't know this, you can misunderstand. You might think, wow, my boss loved my work, when actually they're politely saying, fix this immediately.
That's so true. And I think the real hidden rule here is that feedback is often disguised as suggestion. So if someone says, maybe we could improve this, don't take it as optional. Take it as a polite way of saying, please change it.
Exactly. And that's where so many learners get confused.
So, Emily, I think to make this really concrete, we should share some personal stories. Real-life situations where these hidden rules actually showed up. Because theory is good, but examples make it stick.
Totally agree. Let me start with one of my first job interviews in English. The interviewer asked me that classic question, tell me about a challenge you faced at work. And honestly, I froze. I understood the words, but I didn't know the hidden rule behind the question.
Oh, yes, I know exactly what you mean. They're not just asking you to talk, they're testing your ability to structure your answer.
Exactly. At the time, I just said something like, it was difficult, but I tried my best, which was true, but it wasn't impressive at all. Later, I learned that the hidden rule is they expect you to use a structure. Problem, what you did, result. That simple formula shows you can explain things clearly and positively.
Right, and that's the point. In English-speaking workplaces, clarity is power. If you can tell a short story with a beginning, middle, and end, you automatically sound more professional.
Yes, and I realized later that my short answer made me look unprepared, even though I had experience. If I had used the structure, I could have turned the same story into something much stronger. Like, one challenge was managing a project with a very tight deadline. I organized a small team, created a daily schedule, and we finished 2 days early. It was stressful, but it showed me the value of planning and teamwork.
See? Same story, but now it sounds like you're in control, you're confident, and you're professional.
Exactly. That's a hidden rule of interviews. They're not testing your grammar, they're testing your communication style.
Let me share one of mine. My first big presentation in English, I prepared like crazy. I had slides, I had notes, I thought I was ready, but when I started speaking, I went way too fast. I wanted to prove I knew everything, so I just hello everyone, today we're going to... People were staring at me like I was a machine gun.
Oh no, I can imagine.
Yeah, and the hidden rule I didn't know at the time is in English presentations, pauses are powerful. Silence doesn't mean you're lost. Silence means you're confident enough to give people time to absorb.
Absolutely. And another hidden rule is don't try to impress with complicated vocabulary. Simple, clear words are more effective. If you use too many technical or rare words, you lose your audience.
Yes, totally. Because the goal is not to show off your English. The goal is to make sure your listeners understand your idea. And when I learned that, my presentations improved immediately.
Another story. I had a colleague who used ASAP in almost every email. Send me this ASAP. I need this ASAP. And people thought he was rude, even though he didn't mean to.
Oh yes, because ASAP feels very urgent, almost like shouting.
Exactly. The hidden rule is, if you need something quickly, be specific but polite. For example, could you send this by tomorrow afternoon? That way you show urgency, but also respect.
That's a really good point. And let's talk about names and titles. In many cultures, you always use Mr. or Mrs. with someone's last name. But in English workplaces, especially in the US, people go to first names very quickly.
Oh yes, I remember calling my manager Mr. Johnson for weeks. And one day he said, "Please, just call me Mike." I was shocked. I thought using the first name would be disrespectful, but actually it was the opposite.
Exactly. The hidden rule is being on a first-name basis shows equality and teamwork. It doesn't mean you're disrespectful. It means you're treating the person as a colleague.
And, of course, let's talk about humor. Humor at work in English can be very tricky.
Oh yes, sarcasm especially. What works in your native language may not translate.
Exactly. I once made a sarcastic joke in a meeting and everyone just looked confused. No one laughed. I realized that sarcasm doesn't always travel well.
Same here. I once made a joke about a deadline and people thought I was being serious. So the hidden rule is keep your humor light, positive, and easy to understand.
Yes, jokes about yourself or about general things like the weather are usually safe, but jokes about colleagues can be dangerous.
Let's also talk about networking events. If you go to a professional conference, one of the best ways to start a conversation is simply to say, "So what brings you here today?"
Yes, it's simple, it's open, and it works in almost any context. And then, of course, you need a short way to introduce yourself. "Hi, I'm Emily. I work in project management." Clear, short, friendly.
Exactly. Not a long biography, just a snapshot. That's enough to start a connection.
And once again, the hidden rule is networking is not about pushing your CV, it's about building small connections that can grow later.
Absolutely. And one last story I want to share is about cultural silence. In one of my early meetings, there was a long silence after I asked a question. I thought something was wrong, but actually people were just thinking.
Oh yes, that's important. In English workplaces, silence doesn't always mean disagreement. Sometimes it's just processing. The hidden rule is don't panic in silence. Give people time.
Yes, and often the best comments come after a short pause.
So to sum up this part, we've covered interviews, presentations, emails, first names, humor, networking, and even silence. All these little rules can completely change how people see you at work.
Exactly. And once you understand them, you stop feeling like an outsider. You start to feel like part of the team.
And that's the whole goal, right? Not just to speak English, but to work in English confidently and naturally.
Before we finish, let's review some of the useful vocabulary we used today.
All right, it's time for our vocabulary and review section. Let's take a look at some of the useful words and expressions we've used today and make sure you really understand them.
Yes, because reviewing vocabulary in context is one of the fastest ways to make it stick.
First word, politeness. Politeness means being respectful and kind in the way you speak. For example, politeness opens doors in business.
And notice, in English, politeness is not just nice to have, it's essential. If you forget it, you sound rude without meaning to.
Second, small talk. Small talk is short, casual conversation about simple topics like weather, sports, or weekends. For example, we had some small talk about the weather before the meeting started.
And remember, in English, small talk is not wasted time. It's part of professionalism.
Third, interrupt. To interrupt means to stop someone while they are talking. Example, it's rude to interrupt during a meeting.
But, and here's the nuance, sometimes you have to interrupt. That's why we use polite phrases like, "if I may add something."
Fourth, indirect language. Indirect language means expressing things softly and politely, not directly. Example, instead of saying, "this is wrong," you can say, "this could be improved."
And this is one of the biggest cultural differences. Directness may feel efficient, but indirectness feels professional.
Fifth, feedback. Feedback means information about someone's work, positive or negative. Example, My boss gave me feedback on my report.
And remember the feedback sandwich. Positive, negative, positive. That's a very English thing.
6th, presentation. A presentation is a formal talk to explain something. Example, she gave a presentation about the company's new product.
And don't forget, in English presentations, pauses are powerful.
7th, ASAP. ASAP means as soon as possible. Example, please reply ASAP. But remember, if you use it too often, it can sound rude.
Exactly. Better to say, could you send this by tomorrow?
8th, networking. Networking means building professional relationships. Example, networking events are a great way to meet new clients.
And hidden rule, networking is about building trust, not selling yourself.
9th, first name basis. This means using someone's first name instead of Mr. or Mrs. Example, at this company, everyone is on a first name basis.
And that shows teamwork and equality.
10th, confidence. Confidence means believing in yourself. Example, speaking slowly and clearly shows confidence.
And in English, confidence is often shown by calmness, not by speed.
And 11th, professional tone. This is the style and mood of how you speak at work. Example, keep a professional tone in your emails.
And professional tone usually means polite, clear, and respectful.
And finally, 12th, hidden rules. Hidden rules are unwritten cultural habits you need to understand. Example, small talk is one of the hidden rules of English at work.
Perfect. So now you have 12 strong words and expressions to review.
And that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening until the very end.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and download your free document to build your unbeatable English routine.
We'll be back tomorrow with another fresh and useful episode.